The 49ers and Giants bumped heads in a Thursday night NFC matchup. And yes, Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit, were hanging out in the Amazon. The Giants playing without Saquon Barkley, down for the count. And they were heavy double-digit underdogs in this game. And I don't know if you saw the game or not. It didn't end that long ago. And if you missed it, Brock Purdy does it again. Brock Purdy, 310 yards passing and not one but two touchdown passes. And the 49ers pulling away in the second half. They end up mollywopping and curb stomping the Giants 30-12. They did both those things. Not only a mollywop, but also a curb stomp. Christian McCaffrey added 119 total yards and a score for San Francisco. They are 3-0, and the New York Football Giants dropped to 1-2. But for the purposes of talk radio, negativity sells. The better stories in the losing locker room. So that is where we will migrate to first. We'll work our way back to the 49ers, but we'll start with the Giants. So let's discuss the question from the New York state of mind, the New York perspective. Is this performance an indictment of Daniel Jones? So my thoughts on this, I've got Better Call Saul, Dua Lipa, and Parabolical. And I'm going to put all of these things together, and I am going to make a robot, which would be a better quarterback for the Giants than the guy they have right now. So, the setup was obvious. Right? Setup was obvious. This was a golden opportunity for the much-maligned Daniel Jones to refute gas bags and blowhards like me. Right? Go out there, the stage to yourself. It's an island game. Live the island life. Without Saquon Barkley, it's a springboard up, leapfrog, whatever you want to say. Danny Dimes had an opportunity to prove that he is the man of the house, that he doesn't need Barkley. He can do it on his own. And how did he do? Don't ask. He went to Duke, which is appropriate that he went to Duke because Danny Dimes is the Duke of Puke in primetime games. Another clunker as Jones somehow played the entire game and had 137 passing yards on 22 completions. No touchdowns. It's hard to have one if the Giants don't get in other than field goals. And one interception that was on a tip pass, but Jones had several passes that were overshooting the wide receivers. He ends up with an anemic 4.3 yards per pass. That's just slightly better than a running back. And 64.2 was the passer rating. So this continues a trend. So Jones is hot garbage. He, in almost every scenario, as a double-digit dog, if you're a gambler, and we took the Niners. We hate taking double-digit favorites, but we did in the preamble to Benny versus the Penny, which will make its television return here on Friday. But Daniel Jones remains winless as a double-digit dog. 8 times this guy has gone out and his team has been a double-digit underdog. He has not been able to get her done. And in 12 primetime games, Daniel Jones has a 1-11 record in primetime. He is Kirk Cousins without the criticism. Without the criticism. Now, not only was this game a referendum on Daniel Jones, it also falls into the high crimes and misdemeanors category for the organization. Brian Dable, who signed off on this quarterback, Joe Shane, the general manager, these guys gave this quarterback an extension. Now, it wasn't the biggest extension in the NFL, but he didn't deserve an extension. And the fact that they gave this guy an extension shows you how little they know, right? How bad they are at their job. Daniel Jones does not have that je ne sais quoi, right? He's lacking the stardust. And the Giants are paying him this year $46 million. If you saw the game, does that look like a $46 million quarterback, the performance that he put out there? They better call Saul because this is football malpractice. I'm talking about the Giants fans. It's negligence. Now, one of my favorite parts of the game was when they had a shot in the broadcast booth and Herbie, right there, standing next to Al Michaels, gave Daniel Jones a tongue bath on television about how he was underrated and not appreciated. And I'm like, really? What is he not appreciated for? Anyway, so they cut back to the game action, and hand to God here. Hand to God. Daniel Jones gets absolutely trucked. He's laying on his back, almost gets a safety on the next play. It was absolutely hilarious. It was so good. The timing was perfect. Now, turning the page, but not turning it too far. We had a punch heard around the football world. Now, things got chippy at the end of the first half, actually several times during the game. But the thing we're going to focus on here and lock in, have tunnel vision, was at the end of the first half. The fans, many people up in arms here. There was a visceral reaction, a primal scream. I demand that man is ejected. That man would be 49ers mammoth tackle Trent Williams, who is the size of a giant yacht, one of those big yachts the people that own the internet companies have. So Trent Williams clearly threw a punch. It hit the Giants defensive tackle, Ashawn Robinson, in the face mask. And did Williams get ejected? No. That's why people were up in arms. And so both teams earned unnecessary roughness penalties on the play. There were no players kicked out. So here's the question, why didn't the Zebras eject the 49ers' Trent Williams for throwing a punch? So I'm going to give you my hypothesis here, that the NFL officials are following the Dua Lipa songbook. Boys will be boys. And unlike the creepy quarterback with his burner account, Deshaun Watson, earlier this week, when he clearly shoved the referee and didn't get kicked out, that is black and white. If you shove an official, you get ejected. There's no wiggle room. But on this one, there is more of a gray area. And despite all the pearl clutching, the hyperventilating, believe it or not, you are allowed to throw a punch in an NFL game and not get kicked out. According to the NFL rulebook, not that they always follow the rulebook, they do what they want, but according to the NFL rulebook, throwing a punch or a forearm is classified as unsportsmanlike conduct. That's a foul, right? Which results in a disqualification only if committed twice in the same game, unless the official says, you know what, this is my discretion. It's a objective or subjective situation for the official. So the officials here sided with the testosterone levels being raised. And by the way, as a man, fellow man here, what man punches another man in a helmet? You know what I'm saying? I mean, how is that effective? Aren't you going to do more damage to your hand punching someone in the face mask? And how is that exactly going to cause any damage? I'm just saying. I don't get it. Now, the last word here. Let's go to the winning side. And this show has a ton of 49er lapdogs that love this show. Very big with the 49er fan base. Partially because the 49ers have a very large fan base. So what were your impressions of Brock Purdy and the 49ers, specifically the offense, that again goes up to 30 points? So the first thought I had is that Brock Purdy continues to live the parabolical life, that this is becoming more and more like folklore. It's folkloric is what it is, right? People keep waiting for Brock Purdy to be swallowed up by a demonic sinkhole. And it looked early on in this game, if you watch the first quarter, early on in the game, he got off to a wobbly start. The first 10 passes, he had 6 incompletions and was not good at all to begin the game. He was a little shaky. And then he found his happy place. He got in a rhythm, and boy, is rhythm a hell of a drug. And Brock Purdy, from that point forward, after a 4-for-10 passing start, absolutely disemboweled the Giants for the rest of the game. They had no Brandon Ayuk, and they had no problems. From that point forward, from the 4 of 10 passing start, from that point forward, Purdy completed 21 of 27 passes. That is 77.7% efficiency. Averaged 9.2 yards per pass, had 2 touchdowns and a passer rating about 130. Mixing and matching. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. And it was a yak Partay is what it was. Yakety yak. The 49ers managed to gain 215 of their 310 passing yards after the catch. That is almost 70% of their passing yards were after the catch was made. So, yeah, just throw it out and run, 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 run. And as for Brock Purdy not falling into the demonic sinkhole as many were hoping for, he continues to take a cartoon anvil to the doomsday clock as Mr. Irrelevant has still yet to lose an NFL game where he started and finished. Well, what about the game in Philadelphia? Well, he obviously didn't start, play the entire game, finish the game and all that. He did come back in, but that doesn't count. 10-0 now for Brock Purdy. Now, I'm gonna give you a take nobody else has. Believe it or not, he will lose a game. In fact, he'll lose a bunch of games, but not right now. He ain't losing right now. And man alive, ride the tide. You got to ride the tide.